Good morning. It's Weezy FS1. Skip the BS and put everybody after BS. PS, all I spit is FACTS. The best, skip Bayles, yes, say less. Top of the top, apex, everyday flex. If you ain't got no haters, you ain't poppin', I ain't trying to hate. Let's have a Jordan and LeBron debate. I got time today, dripping on the chain. My diamonds say what they gotta say. If you think it's a game, I commentate, I ain't gotta play. On in the morning, I own my opponent. My competition is not an issue, it's cotton tissue. Unconventional, controversial, convoluted, unconditional, undeterred and undisputed. Good morning.
Good morning, Wayne. Good morning to you. It is time to skip the BS. Time to talk Cowboys Bills. Many dollars pouring in on those Bills, really? And Lakers planning to, raise a banner for their in-season tournament chip? Really? You're kidding. But we begin where you probably ended last night, with a double dip of Monday Night Football. Let's deep dive into both games, please. Each featuring an amazing comeback upset finish by the underdog. We'll get to Jersey's own Tommy DeVito over Jordan Love and the Packers in just a couple of minutes. But, gentlemen, let's start with the Dolphins blowing a 14-point lead with under 3 minutes left and losing for the first time this season at home to 2-touchdown underdog Tennessee, to the 4-8 Titans playing rookie quarterback Will Levis. Titans 28-27. Good morning to Keyshawn. Good morning to Richard.
Good morning, you too, Skip.
Okay. Keyshawn, would you please start us off here? What was your biggest takeaway from the Dolphins' loss?
I mean, it was glaring and it was obvious, I think, to both of us, or both of you guys as well as me. Tyreek Hill. When Tyreek Hill got injured, it didn't even look all that egregious. It was almost like he didn't go under the tent. They wasn't really checking him on the sideline. He got up and he just stood there, and he was, it was almost like they had a conversation with him, right, Skip?
Okay. And he did return to the football
game. He
he
returned in the second half to the football game. But let's start there. Once he went out of the game, everything changed for the Miami Dolphins offensively. Tua looked like a different person.
He did.
This is clearly why when you have these MVP conversations and you're talking about should Tyreek Hill's name be mentioned in it, well, here you go. There's evidence last night that showed what he looks like, or what they look like when he's in the game and when he's out of the game. And then you talk about Tua at the quarterback position. He looks like a different quarterback.
He does.
He held on to the football way too long at times. He was throwing the ball in the dirt at times. And then when you go to the head coach and Mike McDaniels, he, for whatever reason, didn't make the necessary adjustments when Tyreek was out of the game, even to a point where they got into the red zone and they threw the ball 3 straight times and had to settle for 3 instead of pounding the ball, doing some things that they probably would have done. So you start there. When they ended the third quarter and they were down with fourth quarter down with 3 minutes to go, there was 0.4% chance that Tennessee would win the football game.
Well, it hadn't happened in like 6 years.
It hadn't happened in a very, very, very long time. Then Tyreek Hill enters the game in the second half instantly. Boom. They get him the football on a deep square out. All of a sudden, it looks like they're going in the right direction. Him in and out of the game, didn't necessarily help them. So that was the takeaway on the offensive side. Defensively, they hurt themselves at times in the fourth quarter by allowing Will Levis to go down in the fourth quarter, be 10-13, $138 and a touchdown, also a passer rating of 136.1. The defense decided that they're going to allow them in DeAndre Hopkins to get out of bounds on numerous times, not cover him, but they also figured out Xavier Howard couldn't cover him. So they went totally away from Ramsey and decided to pick on Howard, which was smart on their part. So when you look at it, Miami did this to themselves. Tennessee saw it, and they took advantage of it. That's just it, and that's all. Simple.
I mean, he said everything. He said everything.
Well, you've been a big fan of Tyreek for MVP.
No question.
So
and that's
that sort of
that validates it. I mean, for anybody who's watching the game, for anybody who sees Tyreek Hill and the Miami Dolphins play, Tua Tagovailoa is leading the NFL in passing yards And you still think Tyreek is the reason. Tyreek is the reason. Tyreek is the engine. Like, sure, he's the driver, but what's a driver with a car with no engine? And what you saw when Tyreek Hill wasn't on the field is the car with, it went from a V12 to a V6.
It did.
And it looks totally different when you got the V6 and you in NASCAR. But when you get the V12 back, then all of a sudden, you're back in the race, you're back in the running. But it really shows how evident it is that he's a need and he's the most valuable player on this team. But in the same breath, that defense has to show up and they have to make adjustments. There are not a ton of weapons on this Tennessee Titans team outside of DeAndre Hopkins. There aren't a ton of weapons that
Derrick Henry carries the ball, but that's still different.
But I'm talking about receiving weapons. Derrick Henry, no question, is a huge threat and one of the best running backs in the league. But I'm talking about a receiving threat. You have to account for DeAndre Hopkins and make somebody else beat you in the pass game. And the fact that they didn't make that adjustment, now they have two really good corners. And Xavier maybe didn't have his best game, but you got Zay, you got Jalen, you got two of the best corners in the league. But if he's struggling, lean the safety. Where else you got to lean him? Where else do you have to worry about on this team where you're saying, man, we can't give him too much attention? Give him attention. Double team him. Like, where is the adjustment, is at least to get us out of this game? Hey, this guy is killing us today. Hey, let's just get this fire put out and get to the next game, get a win, and walk away. You never want to go into a game where you had too much pride, Skip, where you're like, man, I got him, and to cost your team a game. And so that's the frustrating part. But, obviously, Tyreek Hill is the engine. And I don't know if this team is a Super Bowl contender. I really don't.
Glad you ended with that. By the way, Derrick Henry last night carried it 17 times for a grand total of 34 yards. But he did. If you give it to him down on the goal line, you cannot keep him out of the end zone. He just too big a load.
He totally looked like a shell of himself from several years ago.
He did. Okay, suffer me this. Allow me this.
I will allow it to you.
I'm Cowboy-centric right now. I'm lost in my Cowboys.
Trust me, last night, the first thing I said was, damn. And they was winning the game. And the first thing I said was, damn. And Miami's winning the game. And I'm sitting there saying, I don't want to listen to this guy tomorrow.
Because they don't look like they can beat you.
They don't look like they can beat you. I'm just going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you.
I couldn't help myself. At the end of the game, I said, I've been saying for weeks, I've been saying to you, every time you come back at me, I say, you got me on Miami. I will give you, we cannot win at Miami. Yes, we can win
I
at Miami.
I might have to change my pick on that one. I'm sorry.
I have never been sold on Tua. I think he's a great young man and all that. I'm not talking about him off the field. I'm talking about him as a quarterback. I didn't like him before the draft. He's undersized. He's soft-armed. And if you get any heat on him, he just starts to crumble. And again, he has not been durable, to say the least. So they have done, Mike McDaniel's done a masterful job of keeping him out of harm's way and getting the football out of his hands quickly on time to a track team of receivers. If you throw it quickly and let them run under it, it will work.
Yes.
And it has worked at the highest level because that's the offense that scored 70 points on the Denver Broncos. 70 points? And it looked that was in 3 quarters. They could have scored 100 points, it felt like.
Right.
That same offense last night could not score the football. It was struggling all game long. If you look hard at what happened, Tennessee handed them 3 touchdowns. Just said, here. Will Levis throws a pick 6 from about the 5-yard line.
On the screen.
Okay, and then they give the ball to Miami at their own 7 and at their own 12. We are just saying, here.
Right.
So they had 2 long drives last night, both resulting in field goals, and that's it. Period. End of story. That's your 27 total points because they couldn't score in the first half, and they really struggled to score in the second half unless Tennessee said, here. Right. And then I thought their defense was starting to find itself because of those 2 corners, because I have the highest regard for both of them in and of themselves. Xavier did not have a very good game, and I agree with your point. I was like, wait, you're picking on him now? Right. But they didn't look like a dominant defense. They did not look like a dominant offense, and Tyreek just blew my mind because he claimed after the game he went at halftime, and he's texting with his wife who says, get your you-know-what back on the field. And he's like, okay, I guess I should.
Right.
Well, Well, help me out. What changed? I don't know what changed from the second quarter to later.
I don't know. That's a weird one, Skip.
No, that's why I said I'm not on the sideline and I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
But when he got injured, true, he was rolled. They landed on his ankle, but it wasn't like he went to the 10, he went to the sideline. They were working on him to try to figure things out. He just was standing on the sideline, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that was about.
I don't either, but I mean, it looked like a bad spot. It looked like he might have sprained it. But you know, in the locker room, you can get to the locker room. You get to halftime.
I figured he'd get to halftime.
They got things to get you through the game and get you through.
Injection, maybe.
Yeah, 100%. But to your point, Skip, they had been playing like since Jalen Ramsey returned to the lineup. They had been playing like a top 5, top 10 defense consistently. Vic Fangio is one of the best defensive play callers in the league, but it just looks different. They look dismayed. They look disorganized. They look Will Levis, who's been a really cool story throughout the season. I've liked his story. We got a chance to watch their game. Exudes confidence, plays hard, plays physical brand of football. A good story. But they let him shred them. They were down. He was down 2 touchdowns with 3 minutes to go? 3 minutes to go. Impossible situation.
You can't allow this at home.
And
they hadn't lost.
And I believe